Before I tell you what the RCN is, the Resilient Cities Network, I need to give you a little bit of background on the Rockefeller Foundation. So, the Rockefeller Foundation was started on May the 14th, 1913, and it was started by John D. Rockefeller. And he apparently started this foundation with the goal of improving the well-being of humanity throughout the world. So it sounds pretty good. The Rockefeller Foundation launched its Global Centennial Initiative to celebrate their 100 years of shaping the world in 2013 and to look ahead to the next century of their work. And that is when the Resilient Cities Network was born in 2013 to help the Rockefellers fulfill their vision for the next 100 years. And that's where they say globalization benefits are more widely shared. They claim that it is to help humanity by building resilience that enhances individual, community, and institutional capacity to survive, adapt, and grow in the face of acute crises and chronic stresses. So, out of their undying generosity, they chose 100 cities to fund, and Melbourne and Sydney being two of those 100 cities to be a part of the Resilient Cities Network. So on their website it says, Resilient Cities Network is the world's leading urban resilience network. We bring together global knowledge, practice, partnerships and funding to empower our members to build safe and equitable cities for all. So you may be interested to know that aside from the Rockefeller Foundation being a core funder of the RCN, the other core funder is EDP Singapore. And in case you don't know who that is, that's the Singapore government. And the RCN also have program partners as well to help them with all their good work. They include Shell Petroleum, Visa, Zurich, the World Economic Forum, the World Bank Group, Citigroup, and many, many more. You can just go onto their website, resilientcitiesnetwork.org, and you can find a full list. So who are these 100 cities that they've chosen to fund and help build into resilient cities? And what are resilient cities? So as you already know, there's Melbourne and there's Sydney, and that's here in Australia. And there's Singapore, of course, and there's London, there's New York City, there's at least 20 cities in the USA, there's Rome, Paris, Glasgow, Belfast, Barcelona, Christchurch, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, many cities throughout Asia, Africa and South America. And you can find the map on all of the cities on their website. Once again, resilientcitiesnetwork.org. And it's quite interesting that except for Sweden, Norway, Finland, Poland and Eastern Europe, including Russia, that they've really left no corner of the globe untouched with their Resilient Cities Network. So each of these cities get assigned a CRO, a Chief Resilience Officer, and they're put there by the Rockefeller Foundation, funded, paid for, and they have 100 of these officers all around the world in these cities, and each CRO gets resilience officers, and they're all working for the greater good of our cities. They're not connected to our government though, but instead they're there to guide, advise and fund them. So Victoria's Premier visited New York 4 years ago to learn about adding surveillance structures and systems into Melbourne that complement the strategies and system of the Resilient Cities Network. And the completion of these installations have taken place throughout the lockdowns. So Melbourne policing policies were surrendered to the RCN think tank, which is based in London, and then they produced the guidelines such as providing troops and militia-style training tactics. And to quote Jamie McIntyre from an article from the Australian National Review, he says, the Rockefeller Foundation and the United Nations have multiple networks in place that deal directly with city mayors and leaders of local government municipalities, bypassing national and state structures, a form of infiltration so they do not have to go through normal layers of legal, moral and constitutional authority. They cut through all that red tape. The longer term goal being to do away with government, as sovereignty and nationality are obstacles to a one world government, which is the ultimate and underpinning goal of the World Economic Forum and the United Nations Memorandum of Understanding that they signed in 2019. So, the first and most effective way to implement a one world government, a one world agenda, is to first get hold of and control the local police forces, which was successfully achieved in Melbourne recently. And it's also worth noting that the UN have officially tasked China with the job of collating all of the world's data of human movement and activity. It's called GeoInt, GeoInt. And so China will hold all of the data and planetary human information, and that was announced at the UN General Assembly on the 22nd of September 2020. Also, China's richest man, Jack Ma, also along with Melinda Gates, is heading up the UN's digital cooperation program, bringing all personal data of all people of the world into one central place, and that program commenced June 2020. So China, United Nations, World Economic Forum, Rockefeller, plus many, many more are all working together to know everything about everyone on the planet, with the capacity to control the people with resilient, well-equipped and well-trained militia-style police forces. So look, I urge you to go to their website, check it out for yourself. They talk about, resilient cities shaping a digital world and how we've taken an even greater leap forward due to the pandemic. And they don't hide their dominance over the world at all. But of course, they frame their dominance in a way where it appears that they're funneling money into this network for the greater good of humanity. And I assure you that after spending some time on their website, that you will start to question if it's in fact our government that's really running our country right now, and whether it really matters what government is in power. And you may have noticed that so many self-appointed leaders of the truth movement at the moment are failing to talk about the New World Order. They're not talking about the branches of it, like the RCN. And, why won't they talk about it? Why are so many of them telling us that the only way we can change these draconian laws is if we write letters to politicians and if we vote the big political parties out and vote for the smaller guys? Why aren't they addressing the big picture? You're donating your money to these people and you're relying on these people to lead the way. So, maybe we need to be asking them to address the elephant in the room.